So now that I've been using the Google Pixel 10 Pro for a while as my daily driver, I think I have a pretty good idea what it actually feels like switching from an iPhone to an Android. What are things that you might like about this? What are things you might not like about this? What are some hurdles that you might come across in making the switch? What are solutions to those hurdles? What are things you wish this phone had that the iPhone has? What are things you wish the iPhone had that this phone has? All of those things I'm going to talk about in this video, while also answering questions that you guys asked about this phone. With that being said, from the very first day I started using this phone, one thing was very clear to me. Google has really tried to focus on some of the little details that really matter, I think, instead of focusing on big, new, bold things. There are new things with this phone, some new features, but for the most part, I noticed the small details. For example, switching from an iPhone, one of the first things you will notice about this is the haptics are really good. They are like 95% as good as they are on the iPhone. They're not 100% because I think they're a bit too aggressive over here, while on the iPhone, they are just a bit more subtle, which I think I prefer. The UI is also very smooth, all the animations, everything from going to the lock screen to the home screen, opening apps, closing apps, opening recent apps, scrolling through them, and everything in between feels really good and smooth. And that's a big difference I noticed, especially from a couple of years ago when Android didn't really feel as refined and finished. Even when it comes to the phone itself, the design just feels amazing. It feels very premium. This matte finish on the back glass, the polished aluminum frame, and the Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front. And with this whole phone being IP68 water and dust resistant, this is a very durable phone. And one thing you might have noticed with pretty much all phones these days is that they are very durable. Like, you could drop these things from a fairly high height and they're not gonna crack, but they do end up getting scratched and scuffed and dented. And for that, I've been using a fairly minimal case from Toras, and it does a perfect job of protecting this phone from those scratches, dents, and scuffs that you might get. Especially if you're planning to keep your phone for a few years, 2-3 years, and then resell it. One of the biggest things that's gonna make the resale value plummet are those scratches, dents, and scuffs. So this case just does a perfect job of protecting it from all sides. Not to mention, it also looks really good with this obsidian color, which, by the way, I think is one of the best colors with the Pixel. I've seen all of them in person at the Google event, and I think the obsidian one is by far one of the best ones. But you might have also noticed that Google has now added MagSafe to this phone, and they make their own accessories as well, like this stand thing that you can attach. But I like it when it's just built into the case, and that's exactly what this case also has. This thing actually becomes a stand. So you can use it to, hold your phone like this to maybe record videos or even, watch videos, which is very convenient, I think. It also, of course, works perfectly with thousands and thousands of MagSafe accessories that already exist. So I'm gonna leave links below. Check this out. Getting back to the phone, one of the other things I've also noticed is that Google has really tried to make it super easy to switch from, especially an iPhone, to the Pixel. And I think one of the biggest steps they have taken is Pixel Snap, and I love it. But also, you can just transfer all your data from an iPhone to this phone right when you're setting up this phone. And you just connect them through a USB-C cable, and it just does the whole thing automatically. And it works pretty well. You also now have RCS messaging, so if you're talking to someone who uses an iPhone, you can send them images in full resolution, and you can react to their messages. You can see the typing indicator and all of those things. So that barrier that was before is kind of gone now, other than the green and blue bubble thing that still exists. Google even added a journal app because iPhones have it, so now the Pixel also has it, just in case someone uses it. AirDrop used to be something that was a big barrier switching from an iPhone to an Android, because I am someone who uses Macs and iPads and everything, so it's very nice to be able to just AirDrop videos and, a bunch of different files from one device to another. But surprisingly, I was able to find a couple of really good solutions for that. It's called Local Send and Blip, and also NearDrop. Local Send and Blip are basically the same. You can install one of these apps on all your devices and just start sharing files across them without any problems. It probably works even better than AirDrop. And then NearDrop, you just install on your Mac, and you can just quick share files from your Android phone to your Mac, and from your Mac to your Android phone. That also just basically solves the whole AirDrop problem. One more thing that I thought I was going to miss, but I didn't at all, is Face ID. This phone has an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, and it's really fast, but it also has its own Face ID. It's not the same tech. It doesn't use like infrared cameras and whatnot, so it's not probably as secure as Face ID is, but it still works fast, and it's good enough, I guess. but you do have the fingerprint sensor. So if one of them isn't fast enough, the other kind of catches up and opens the phone basically at the same speed as the iPhone unlocks. Now, on the front of this phone, you get a 6.3-inch display, just like the iPhone. It's also an OLED screen. It's an LTPO panel. It's 120 Hz, super fast, super sharp, goes all the way up to 3,300 nits at peak brightness. But this phone does have a slightly different aspect ratio than the iPhone. It's slightly narrower and a little bit taller, just a little bit taller. So I find it a little bit harder to use, especially if I'm trying to use it with one hand and trying to reach the top corners. But all of these are very minute differences. Overall, I feel like this phone just looks like an iPhone. In fact, I've been told many times by family members and other people when I had this phone in my car and I was just using the navigation, people told me that this just looks like an iPhone. They thought this was an iPhone. Now this year, Google brought back something they're calling adaptive tone, which basically just changes the white balance of your screen depending on the environment you're in. And it's essentially the same as the true tone feature on iPhones, which I turn off all the time. So I turned it off here as well. But from my quick tests, I can say that it works well. But when it comes to the Tensor G5 chip inside this phone, things get a bit controversial because this is the first time that Google has manufactured their processor fully by themselves with TSMC instead of relying on Samsung for the production, I think. So the expectation was that this year, this was going to be some breakthrough. This was going to be a very powerful chip. But that didn't really happen. If you look at the numbers, this isn't really a very powerful processor, especially compared to other flagship processors like the Snapdragon 8 Elite or the Apple A19 Pro that's going to be in the 17 Pro. However, I think Google does not care about the numbers. I think they care more about the actual experience of using this phone. And they have got that locked in because if you use this phone, it feels very fast, very snappy, very quick. It does not feel slow at all, like 95% of the times. The other 5%, I did notice a few hiccups here and there, a few app crashes, occasionally some YouTube videos just randomly lag, which is something I've never experienced on the iPhone. Sometimes apps take a very long time to load, so I just kind of restart them, which seems to fix the issue. And also a few things that I've noticed when it comes to the camera, which I'll get to. But probably the biggest one for me is that apps don't stay open in the background for too long. Like even a couple of hours later, I think, if I open an app, it will restart. On the iPhone, however, I can open an app that I used maybe a day or 2 days ago and it will just start from where I left off. It won't restart fully because it's just in the system memory. Even though this phone has like more RAM, it has 16 gigabytes while this has 8. So that is something I noticed. But I think the real question here is that will this phone perform the same or similarly 2, 3, 4, 5 years later down the line, because Google promises 7 years of software updates on this. But if you can't really use it like 6 years later or even 4 years later, then what's the point? Who cares? Even if it has like 10 years of software updates, right? Like on iPhones, you can totally use an iPhone 11 in 2025. I have a family member that has an iPhone 11. It's not the greatest experience, but it's totally possible. What I think Google has tried to focus a lot on when it comes to the Tensor G5 chip is AI, because a big part of this phone is just all AI, AI, AI. And I have been using a lot of it, and some of it seems a bit too much. Like I don't think I need this Spixel Studio app, but some of the other features I have been using include Gemini, of course, because it's way better than Siri. I also like that I can just share my entire screen with it and just ask questions. It can see the whole screen. The Magic Eraser to erase things and objects from photos, it works so much better than the one on the iPhone. Like it's not even close. Text-to-speech and the voice recorder, which I guess are not entirely AI stuff, but I think they use AI for some part of it, which also work much better than they do on the iPhone. When it comes to the battery, this phone has a 4,870 milliamp hour battery inside, and the battery life is pretty good. I've been averaging around 4 hours and 50 minutes of screen on time with around 34% battery remaining at the end of the day. My usage is mainly on Wi-Fi, but there's a lot of 5G here and there as well. And I haven't really noticed any cellular problems or signal issues with this phone. And because this phone supports Qi 2, it can charge as fast as 15 watts wirelessly and 30 watts wired. But here's the thing, if that's all there was to talk about this phone, this would be very, very easy to recommend for me. But there is more, the cameras. And the cameras are good and bad at the same time. When it comes to the photos look really nice. They're sharp, they have good detail, good colors, especially the skin tones. Google has done a lot of work to make them look natural, and I think it shows. I think it looks better than what they do on the iPhone. The iPhone just generally captures everything the way it actually looks, so it makes everything look more natural. this phone kind of enhances things after you take the photo. But I think it looks good. It tends to raise shadows, make everything a bit brighter. Sometimes it adds a little too much sharpness, I think. But overall, the photos look really nice. I might even say they're better than the iPhone. I just like that typical Pixel kind of look. The 100x zoom though can be a hit or a miss. If you're photographing objects, buildings, houses, man-made things, then it actually seems to work very well. You can tell that it has that AI kind of look, but I still think it looks good. However, if you're going to photograph people and nature or text, then it either just completely ignores them, like especially people, or if it's text, it will most likely completely butcher it. Because again, it's all just AI and it's not very good with text right now. However, when it comes to video, it's pretty much the opposite. The results are not very nice. Everything just looks a bit darker. It looks quite noisy. The frame rate seems to be jittery. The stabilization doesn't feel the best. And overall, it's just not very good. Even if you zoom in at the same focal length roughly compared to the iPhone, it's not as sharp. The slow motion video does not have autofocus, and the blur video, which is like the cinematic mode on iPhone, seems to be even worse. Basically, I feel like when you start recording video on this phone, it just feels like you are just completely removing all the AI features and all the post-processing that Google does to the photos. It's like a curtain that you just remove completely and you just get to see what this camera actually records. It just feels like that. And I wonder if this is because of the processor, because photos look nice because Google is able to process them after you take them, but it's much harder to do that with video. So could this potentially be because of the processor, the Tensor G5 chip? Maybe it's not as powerful. Is that the reason, or is just something else? Just for a quick comparison, in my last Pixel video, the top-down shot was actually filmed on this iPhone 16 Pro. And I don't even think you can tell the difference between the top-down shot, which was filmed on this phone, and this A-roll shot, which is filmed on a professional camera, which is a pretty big deal. Just shows you what this camera is capable of. So overall, my experience has been pretty good with the Pixel, again, minus the video side of things when it comes to the cameras. And the one thing I've realized is that it's also just a phone, just like the iPhone. Like, I don't really miss the iPhone as much as I thought I would. And I could totally continue to use this phone. And I don't think I'll be switching back, at least not right now. I want to wait till at least the Galaxy S26 Ultra is out and then decide. I will, of course, still be getting the iPhone 17 Pro because I kind of have to for content. So subscribe if you want to see that. But do I recommend this phone? Well, I would say that if you don't film a ton of videos, then yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good phone, especially if you're on the Android side. But if you need the video features, then I still think the iPhone is the king. But that's all for this video. Remember to check out the Taurus cases using the link below, and I'll see you later.